So Johnny, tell me about Patriarchs of Black. Tell me about your new project. What's going on?
Well, this has been something like, now it's been going on for a couple of years, pretty much like around the pandemic. I want to say maybe during it. We started working on the first few songs. Dan Lorenzo, we've had some mutual friends throughout the years, and but we never really like knew each other all that well. Knew each other, but wouldn't say we were like, buddies or anything like that. But anyway, he was coming up with some stuff, and Bobby Blitz from Overkill suggested that he reach out to me. He was like, Johnny would be the right guy, to do this. And from there, he started sending me some stuff that he was working on, and I was into it, of course. And at first, it was I don't want to say like a band, to put together a band,
Right.
but because truthfully, I really didn't have the time. I'm involved in a lot of things,
Yeah.
so to make a commitment to work with another band, I just didn't think would like really be a good idea, and it would, not just because of the level of commitment that's involved in it, but also being involved with so many things, certain things take priority over others, and then this would wind up being a low priority, and that wouldn't be fair to that. So at the time, it, suggested, why don't we just when we were talking about who to get to sing or play bass or whatever, it was like, why settle on one? Let's just have fun with it, and just reach out to different people, friends. Between the two of us, we have a lot of friends that play. And it'd be like, let's have fun with it that way, and just get a whole bunch of people involved, and just make something a little bit more out of it, instead of just a band, or say like a recording project.
Right.
And Dan has this ability to come up with stuff quickly, which the other bands that I've worked with throughout the years, we never did anything quickly when it came to making new music. It just didn't happen that way. Typo, took years. I was in, I've been playing with Glenn for 20 years. I think we've done like 3 records
Right.
in 20 years. So there isn't a lot of recording going on there. Not a lot of new music. So working with Dan it's kind of like Mark Zavon from Kill Devil Hill. He has these guys have the ability to come up with stuff very quickly. Like now we're promoting, we're doing promoting now Veneration record, and we're already working on the fourth record.
Wow.
I've already worked on songs. I was like I said, like when I was having my audio issues getting this call set up, I was reviewing stuff that I worked on yesterday. And so I get confused as to like what we're talking about sometimes.
Understandable. All your
But
projects.
anyway, it turned out to be a cool thing where we I get to work with people I normally wouldn't get to work with, and I've been able to get introduced to some really cool, talented, interesting people.
Yeah. The list of guests for this album is obviously pretty impressive.
It is. It's cool. It's like,
It,
you wouldn't be able to like normally, you wouldn't be able to have a situation where you would say work with Mark Sunshine or Car Eagle and Daryl from DMC.
right. Hell yeah. Exactly.
That's just like a piece of it. And to work with these with Jason McMasters, and I got Eric Morgan from Pale Horse involved in it. And we have guys from Doggy Dog, and it's just from all over the place. I mean, a lot of it seems like it kind of centralizes on Jersey guys, and then it kind of branches out from there. But it's really cool, and it's interesting to get the different perspectives on a song, like the way people work on new music and stuff. And
Yeah.
their approach to like their singing or like the bass playing and stuff. Like and Mark just Dan just keeps on sending me things. Like I have like a bunch of songs in my emails, and I'm like, oh, what can I get to today? Like I've been having a lot of stuff. My mother's not doing very well. She's very sick at the moment, and so I've been going back and forth to from Texas to New Jersey in between the Quiet Riot gigs and stuff. So I haven't had a lot of time to work on music,
Sure.
and but like there's no shortage of songs, and so Dan just keeps on sending me stuff, and like as fast as I can get it done, then it's like, all right, this guy's gonna sing this and that, and then I start getting rough mixes, and I'm like, what record is this?
Yeah.
And it's cool because there really isn't a timeline on it.
That's probably the best part.
We're not getting pressured by anybody or anything. It's literally just having fun with it. And it started out as a vehicle for me to learn more about during the pandemic. I got involved and I took an interest in recording live drums.
Mhm.
For years I worked on electronic kits and doing stuff on MIDI and stuff like that. And I was like, I want to get into tracking live stuff, because there was like certain things I found frustrating and limiting as far as like creating dynamics with electronic drums.
Sure.
Going in and doing a lot of editing and stuff like that. Just to it takes work just to get like ghost notes on the snare. And so then I was like, oh, let me try getting into recording live drums, because all the years with throughout the years of my career, I never paid attention to any of that stuff. Just did my work, got out of the studio, see you on the bus. And I really had no interest in it. And then when I started working with Kenny on like Silvertune,
Mhm.
started taking an interest in more of like the ins and outs of getting good drum sounds and learning about stuff like that. And while during the pandemic, I had a lot of time at home, so I tried to take that as I tried to use it as an opportunity to do something useful,
Mhm.
learn something new. And each song that I record, it gets a little bit better, and I get a little bit closer to what I hear in my head, what I think would be like good drum sounds. I'm starting to get closer to that, and I've there's the limitations of not having the experience or the know-how, and like the room, the space that I'm working in, and stuff like that, and the money, the limited amount of resources, as far as I don't have a shit ton of money to just spend on gear and buy great microphones and to compressors and preamps and stuff.
Right.
It started out, I was using my in-ear mixer, and I was using that, and then I started as I started learning more, I started getting into a little bit more different preamps and compressors and stuff. But it's been interesting, and it becomes like this like this rabbit hole, and it becomes a rabbit hole, it becomes a money pit, and it's like guitar players, where
Oh yeah.
there's the term, they're chasing tone.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
and it's the same thing with drums.
well,
So I've been doing that.
have you found your perfect tone yet?
No.
No. Exactly.
No. No, but each song that I record, I try to use as an opportunity to to learn different things, try different techniques. And I'm always on YouTube trying to learn stuff. And I have friends that are engineers, and so I send them stuff. I'm like, what do you think of this? What can I do better? Or and a lot of it has to do also with working in the context of the song.
Right.
Because a certain drum sound, say a big open drum sound, isn't going to really work for something that's super, whatever, fast tempo, aggressive like that. So it's like trying to understand the song and the drums, in the context of, drums in that song and what will work for the song. So it's a lot of stuff to learn all at once, and it's it's been interesting. I find myself shocked that I say that because I literally used to just I'd be in the studio and I would literally fall asleep on the floor because it's so god awful boring to me.
Yeah, the studio's not for everyone. It's not.
Yeah, all the years with Typo, working on those records and stuff, and I would be in there just hanging out or whatever. I'd have to come in for like a press day, and we'd be in the studio, and it'd be whatever, playing around with the knobs and all that stuff. I was like, this is fucking boring, man. And I would just like go upstairs and fall asleep in the lounge on a chair or something. But now, later on in my career, I've taken a little bit of an interest in it. So it's been cool, learning about it.
Right. So with
You know,
all of the guests on the album, it's kind of a little reminiscent of the Roadrunner United thing, uh, in a sense. Your sound went off. I don't hear you.
you hear me
There
now?
you go. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, yeah. The Roadrunner United thing. It was like teams of writers working with different people.
Yeah,
Like this is more. I see it more as like a kind of like a Probot thing that Dave Grohl did.
yeah.
But
Which is
it was
also,
like
I wish
like
I
it
wish
was
he'd
like
do more of that.
that record was actually really cool.
Yeah. I, and I know they did one for
So like
Nuclear
when we,
Blast, but I wish there were more of these like
yeah,
collaborative albums.
yeah, it's cool because it's like you're not really sure what's going to come of it.
And even more
And
so now.
like the same thing.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, just like with all the technology
Well,
now, like
even
you could the way everyone's able to send each other everything back and forth, and it's on their phones. And,
yeah,
yeah,
it's a lot easier to share, like to be able to email drum tracks. Like you couldn't do that years ago.
yeah, it's a whole different process.
you know. So it's cool in the sense like that. That's what I love about doing home recording is that like when I'm working on songs, I have my own time to work on them instead of getting yelled at by the band because I'm trying to work something out, and they're all just like, "Are you done yet?"
Yep.
Like you're making a lot of noise. It's like I'm trying to work.
Right.
Like Kenny from Typo always gets mad at me for making noise. And but I don't really up until I guess as of recently I never didn't really have the opportunity to sit there and to be, to work out something, and now I have the ability to do it on my own and be able to record it and then send what I've done to the engineer, that producer that's putting the stuff together, and I could do it I was going to do it in the comfort of my own home, but then the police came. So it's a whole other story. I built a studio in my yard in a shed, and I don't even know how much money I spent on it. But I built the shed, put electricity, had electrician come, run electricity to it. I put an AC system in it and all this stuff. I got to record like one song, and then the cops came and shut me down for a noise complaint. Yeah,
Oh, that's not fun.
yeah. Yeah. So now I rent a small studio in Dallas. And it's like I don't know, maybe like less than an hour, about an hour away from where I live.
Okay.
And but the thought of having something to be able to just walk outside, like just go to work with my coffee in my hand and in my underwear and just go into a room and be able to have like a full functioning facility to to do my work was like it was I would dream about it.
Right.
It was like, oh, I can't wait for this to be done. And then I got shut down. I'm still getting in trouble with the cops for making noise in my 50s.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Uh,
but to have that where technology has advanced so much and where you can get you can get decent sounds in the like in a facility that's not really it's not real high end like high end drum room like with high ceilings and things like that. You can manipulate it with like $30 software. So that's pretty cool to me.
100%.
And that works within my budget. It's right there.
So
But it's fun and it's interesting.
how did Quiet Riot
Go
come
ahead.
along?
Oh, geez. Okay. I've been playing in Hookers and Blow with Alex Grassi, the guitar player in Quiet Riot. We've been playing in Hookers and Blow together for years. And when Frankie Banali got sick, and he was going in for treatments and stuff, chemo treatments and things like that. Uh, I had seen that Quiet Riot was playing in Dallas, and I told Alex, I said, it's like at first I was surprised to hear that Frankie was actually playing because he was, going through chemo treatments and stuff, and I know that, it kicks the crap out of you.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I asked him, I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to be there anyway, hanging out. I was like, do you want me to help Frankie? Does Frankie need some help? I'll help him set up and whatever, and, keep an eye on the kit while he's playing so that he could, just save his energy for the show. I was like, I'm going to be there anyway. So I don't mind helping him out that way. And, so he was like, I'll ask Frankie, and Frankie was like, yeah, it's a cool idea. All right, cool. I was like, all right, great. I'll see you next week. And, I had also I had mentioned to him, I was like, look, I said, I really don't expect it, because I couldn't imagine, Quiet Riot performing without Frankie Banali in the band.
Yeah.
I was like, if the situation ever comes up and you need somebody to fill in, I was like, I'll do it. I'll help out however I can. I was friends with Frankie, and it's like, I was just like, whatever I could do to help him out, and to keep things, moving. And not really, honestly, I really wasn't expecting anything to come of it. I was just offering to help. And 2 days before the Dallas show, Alex called me and was like, "Can you do the show?" And I was like, "Send me a set list." I knew a few Quiet Riot songs. I didn't know a whole set worth. And I had 2 days to learn the set. I showed up in Dallas. We played, and I didn't even really know half the other guys in the band. I walked into the trailer and I was like, it's like, this was a terrible idea. I don't know why I said I could do this, but it's terrible. Bad idea. And somehow we managed to get through the show. There wasn't any real major train wrecks or anything like that. And we got through it. And then it started from there. It was like, well, Frankie's going to be going in for treatment, on these dates. Are you available for this? Are you available for this date? Are you available? And I only had at the time I had a tour lined up going to Europe.
Okay.
And that was just for like 2 weeks. And I said, I'm available the rest of the year if you need me, except for these 2 weeks. And it just grew from there. And then when before Frankie passed away, and he was getting his affairs in order, and it was he had wanted the band to continue. He wanted to keep the band going.
Right.
And when it came time to pick a drummer, he wanted me to do it.
So couldn't really turn that one down.
And so. Yeah, it's the story of Frankie was one of my heroes, growing up when I first started playing. It was Mental Health was the biggest record in the country.
Right.
Around the time I started, my first bands, we were playing, Bang Your Head. And, so to get asked to continue what he built, to me it was a huge honor.
Absolutely.
And it's a lot of fun. The gig it's a lot of fun, a lot of drumming, a lot of playing, compared to what I've basically made a career out of.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it's different.
That's why
and
I
it's
asked about it,
busy.
because it's like you look at your career and then like Quiet Riot, and it's like, huh, that one's different.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you look at it on paper, it's like, it's pretty, it's kind of impressive. But yeah. And you go from like, Typo, Danzig, and then Quiet Riot. And it's like, how does that work?
That's it. It's a
But
good
it's
story though.
cool in the sense that I think it is a good story. And, I know for me, it's, it's cool in the way that it's like, like I'm doing something that, like I still find interesting, and it keeps me busy, and it keeps me active, and,
Right.
it's fun, and that's, I'm kind of in a place in my life, where it's like, yeah, all right, I understand, I need to earn a living,
Yeah.
and
But if you
this
get
is a real fun way of doing it.
yeah,
Yeah,
if
this
you can
is,
have fun
it's
and not some people obviously just do it for the money, and hey, that's fine if you get that opportunity. But you can tell the difference between someone that's there for a paycheck and someone that's having fun. And
right. They're right. There's a million ways to earn a living, but this is a really fun one, like, and now, like, like with Rudy Sarzo in the band, I played with Rudy,
yeah, it's
played with
awesome.
fucking Rudy Sarzo.
What a lineup you got,
Right, like with Rudy and Jizzy and Alex, like, the band's a solid lineup, and it's, like the band, it's like, like the band goes out there, and, we perform, mostly on the weekends,
hmm
so I'm home, like, I'm home a lot during the week, which is cool, I go out and play on the weekends. I come home during the week, and my wife's not crazy about that, and it's presented challenges.
Sure.
But it's kind of like a combination of to me, it's like a mix of a lot of good things,
hmm
and like playing with Quiet Riot, and like like the way that the places that we play and stuff. It's a lot of like casino gigs and things like that. It's like you get treated like a human being, and it's like pretty weird.
Is there
Yeah, it's there isn't like a few guys in your hotel room anymore and stuff. You kind of it's kind of very civilized.
right? Is there any new music coming from Quiet Riot?
There isn't anything on the table right now. We've talked about maybe like doing something to more or less document the lineup.
Okay.
To like to, I guess, maybe more along the lines of like legitimize this lineup into the band's legacy.
hmm
Something like that. Or like, I'm really just curious to see what the four of us would come up with.
Yeah, that's
You know,
100%.
and I'd love to have something. I'd love to have something that documented that I played with, with Rudy and Jizzy and Alex.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
like, no, look, it really happened.
No, that's exciting.
I feel bad for Rudy because he now he's stuck playing with me. So I feel bad for him in that sense. Like, like he's had this, like this, illustrious, like amazing career of like, playing with,
Anyone and
like
everyone.
all these, like, right, all these top-notch people, like, starting with Randy Rhoads and going, going on. And now he's got me.
Oh, come on.
So I kind of feel bad for him in that sense.
No, you're more than worthy to be in that spot.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I've it's I haven't been kicked out, so I guess that's good. Like, I've been playing with Rudy now for a couple of years, so I guess I'm doing something okay.
Exactly.
And but
Nope.
yeah, so it's great. It's great in a sense like that. Like, like there's a lot of positives that come with it, and it's weird. Like, the weirdest thing is like, for all the years of like, like playing the clubs and, like the theaters and stuff like that, like, with Typo and Danzig, we played a lot of the same venues, run through the, the cycles of, like the routings of a lot of the same places,
Right.
for years. And with this is like, this is like a lot of casinos and state fairs and stuff like that, and it's like a lot of these places like these little tiny airports, and then do like a 2 hour drive on like a 2 lane road and stuff, and it's like there's no way there's going to be people here. It's like,
And then they
I don't.
show up.
It's like, and then like you walk out on stage. It's like even like before the show, it's like, oh, this is going to be a bloodbath. Nobody's going to be here. It's like doors opened up 20 minutes ago, and there's still nobody here. It's like, oh, well, you're in the middle of nowhere. What do you expect? And then by the time we go on stage, the place is packed. Like, where did these people come from? And it's like, how do they know this place exists? I mean, it's like really like some of like these like really like way very remote like towns and cities and stuff, and like they'll show up at this venue, and then like by the time we step on stage, it's like a whole bunch of people, and they're all screaming, "Come on, feel the noise!"
Right.
It's like really, it's really strange. I mean, and pleasant. I mean, it's great. Like we go to like these like real like odd places, and there's people showing up, and they're coming out, and they're having a good time, and and do that every weekend.
So,
But yeah, it struck me. It strikes me as odd. I'm still not used to it. And it's like, where are we? I was like, I thought I've been everywhere in the States. And then something will pop up on the itinerary. I was like, I've never heard of this place. And it's like, we're flying into what airport? It's like,
they have an airport
it's
too.
like these like little, yeah. It's like, wow, they have an airport.
That's great.
But it's cool. Like it is. It's cool.
But before you had joined Typo, like what had your career been up to that point, and what led to you stepping into clearly one of the most interesting times in the band? Everything was already kind of starting to take off and all that. So like,
No, actually, it wasn't. The band had like zero value when I joined the band. It was relatively unknown. Like like the band toured on Slow, Deep, and Hard. They did like a 2 week tour,
mm-hmm.
and that was it. And then they went to Europe for 2 weeks, and most of those shows were canceled. It's well documented, the whole chaos that surrounded the first European tour with the band. I think they wound up playing like 3 or 4 shows, if I'm not mistaken, out of like a whole tour.
Yeah.
And then, like they came back from that, and then the band, the Bloody Kisses record was made,
Mm-hmm.
and then Sal left the band right after the record came out. So there was no touring done on the record. There was no support for it or anything. I was in the band for like 2 weeks, and we went and shot the Christian Woman video. And even at that point, like like the band, I was in the band for months before we did a tour. Because it wasn't that kind of band. There was no plans to like it was like one of those things like don't quit your day job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what it was. And then it was I was in the band maybe like 4 months, 5 months, and I remember our manager calling me at work. I was mechanic working in a shop, and he was like, "Can you get time off of work? We're going to go on tour." I was like, "What are you talking about going on tour?" It's like, "Peter's not going to tour." Peter used to come to my shop with his car and used to hang out with me and my boss and stuff, and and before I even joined the band, he was like, "It's not that kind of band. We're not going to tour or anything like that." I was like, "Yeah, I know. I'm pretty familiar with what you guys are up to, because I played in a band with Kenny for years before he joined Type O."
Okay.
And I knew Josh. I did a lot of recording at Josh's studio. That's how I met Josh. Doing demos at his home studio. And I knew Peter from the neighborhood and stuff. And then I met Peter. I got to know him a little bit better when they put Type O together, because Kenny and Sal were in the band, and and I was friends with them. But the band wasn't doing anything. We did it. We would play a little bit on the weekends after I joined, like, play Lamar, and like we would go up to like Connecticut and, stuff like that. Like, playing locally, playing Jersey. But there was no plans to, get on a tour bus and go out on the road and like, try to make a go at it until months later. And then we did a 6-week tour in the States with Life of Agony,
Okay.
came home, went back to work. You know, it was like nobody really knew. It was like we did this tour, and it was like, you know, there was some people at some of the shows, but it was like we were, you know, an unknown band.
Yeah.
You know, but that was like starting, you know, laying down the groundwork. I mean, the band, you know, the band had a great record, and you know, Roadrunner, the label, wanted the band to tour on it, but Peter was totally adamant about touring. He didn't want to do it. And I didn't care. I just wanted to be in the band. It's like, you know, I thought the band was awesome, and I was like, all right, you know, whatever, you know,
Whatever happened.
I don't care. I just want to be in the band. Whatever we do, you know, one show a year or, you know, 1,000. It doesn't matter. And yeah, so like I said, it was like, you know, I was in the band for months, and there was no touring. We did that 6-week tour, and we like, you know, at that point we just figured that would be it. You know, we did a tour. We managed to stay together. The band, the wheels didn't fall off the bus. We completed the tour, which was a first for Typo, because all the other tours that they did were canceled, or, you know, whatever, you know, didn't finish. And I was home for a couple of weeks, and then my manager calls me at work again. Can you get more time off at work? I was like, what now? And Nine Inch Nails had a short run of dates. It was I think it was like 12 shows on the West Coast, and it was all like multiple nights at small theaters. You know, like the Moore Theater in Seattle, and the Warfield, and you know, like the Palace in LA. It was
Yeah.
just a few places, you know, multiple nights. They were like, the band that was supposed to open up broke up, and the tour starts in Seattle in 3 days. Can you do it?
Sure.
And we jumped in it was maybe like 4 days, but we jumped in a minivan and a little cube truck and drove cross country to get to Seattle. We do the trip. We drive back to New York, go back to work. All right, I guess that's it. You know, like there was no like plan, or like, all right, you know, what are we going to do next, or, you know, nothing. It was just go back to work. And then a couple of weeks later, Motley Crue wants you on their tour coming up.
Wow.
And I was like, Motley Crue. I was like, Motley Crue, Typo Negative with Motley Crue. I was like, how does that work?
Right.
I was like, we're going to get hit with vegetables. People are just going to be throwing shit at us for 30 minutes. They're going to hate us.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't fit with that. But anyway, it was like when they were working on that record with John Corabi, apparently, like, you know, they were listening to Bloody Kisses a lot. You know, they found the record and they really liked it, and they were like, we want these guys on tour with us.
Oh yeah.
And so we were like, okay. And we went on tour with Motley Crue for the summer. And during that tour, in the middle of that tour, that's when I quit my job, and Peter quit his job, and Kenny quit his job. Josh worked at the studio, so he fired himself, I guess. I don't know. But he shut his studio down. And that's when we were like, all right, you know, then we'll see, you know, where this goes. And this was a year after the Bloody Kisses was released. So we were just starting to scratch the surface of what the band's popularity would eventually become.
Right.
You know, I mean, we were literally getting change thrown at us at opening up for Nine Inch Nails. Nobody gave a shit. They literally hated us. And in between the Nine Inch Nails tour and the Motley Crue tour, when we knew we were going out with Motley Crue, then we went out and did another tour in the States on our own.
Hmm.
And that was a little bit better than the first time we went out. Like, our manager was like, you know, when we finished the Nine Inch Nails tour, he had us go back to those cities that we played with Nine Inch Nails. It was like, well, those people hated us. Why would they want to come see us? They were throwing shit at us 2 weeks ago. But it wound up like, you know, like those people, they kind of took notice.
Yeah.
You know, they just didn't want to see, they didn't want to see anybody that night except for Nine Inch Nails. So, you know, it could have been Jesus coming back and they would have been throwing shit at him. You know, where's Trent?
But fortunately, everything worked out. You've had a fucking
Yeah,
career.
but that was it though. Like, you know, it wasn't just like, you know, like, you know, where I walked into an already like, you know, established successful band. This band was worth nothing. And then, you know, through the work of, you know, touring and stuff like that, you know, like a year and a half later, then we had a gold record.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, but before that, I was just, you know, playing in local bands. Like I said, I played in a band with Kenny for a few years before that. You know, I was playing in a band with my uncle, and that was more like a blues based band, more along the lines of like oh, what did we oh, what was that band? Shit. Yeah, it was more like a and I forget the name of the band. Shit, they had that song, Don't Dog Me. Hang on, I gotta look it up now. Uh, Raging Slab. That's it.
That's a good name right there.
Yeah, the band that I played with my uncle. It was more, you know, kind of like a, you know, it was more, you know, blues based rock, like, you know, like Raging Slab and, you know, like Aerosmith, Leonard Skinner, you know, classic rock.
Okay.
And, but yeah, it's like, you know, just, you know, playing in local bands, just like everybody else. And, you know, like a lot of the guys, you know, that came up from that area, you know, we all played together, you know, like you know, you know, the guys from like Biohazard and stuff, you know, we all come from the same neighborhood and somebody's played with each other at some point somewhere. I remember like, you know, one of my first bands I ever played in was with Evan Seinfeld. You know, we'd play like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest songs and stuff, you know, learning how to play. And you know, but then, you know, like Typo, you know, Peter was kind of like a neighborhood celebrity because he had a Carnivore.
Yeah.
And Carnivore had, you know, made a name for themselves, you know, locally and stuff. And then when they put Type O together, you know, after Carnivore broke up, you know, like that was like, I think, you know, Peter was really hitting his stride with his songwriting. You know, like he definitely, you know, turned a corner, and he was, you know what they were doing, especially at the time, like, you know, like when the first record came out, there was really nothing else like it.
Yeah.
You know, it was like really like, you know, trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. And I just thought it was amazing. I like, you know, the demo, you know, when the band was called Repulsion, you know, that demo stayed in my car for shit, I don't know how long. I used to listen to it all the time. And so when the opportunity came, like, you know, to join the band, I was like, you know, who knew? You know, like I really didn't think anything of it at the time. You know,
You were
it's
just
like
joining another band.
joining a band that really, you know, was just like another local band that just happened to have like a record deal with a small label in Holland.
Yeah.
You know, Roadrunner was not the label that it is, you know, now, or that it was like, you know, in the 90s, in the 2000s and stuff. This was literally a small, tiny label that had like, you know, King Diamond and Sepultura. And like, you know, at that point, even those bands, like, you know, like King Diamond, you know, King Diamond, I guess was like, I guess maybe like the biggest artist, you know, like when they first started, you know, but it was definitely a different time, and there was really nothing else like it, and, you know, and it was like so heavy, and it was like a lot of it was, you know, a lot of it was, you know, very slow tempos, you know, but it also carried you know, even the first record, there's a lot of like, you know, there's a lot of melody in it, which was you know, like you didn't have like, you know, like really heavy, you know, doomy music that had like, you know, like these, you know, pop sensible, you know, melody lines, you know, mixed in with it, you know. So, and I just thought it was just a mixture of just like a lot of like, you know, really a lot of things that I thought were really cool. And like when I got the chance, when Sal left the band, who it's like like friends of ours, like everybody, like in that little circle, we thought maybe the band would probably break up after that because one of the guys left, and it'd be all right, that's it, whatever, and do something else. And Peter was pretty, back then he was, he worked for he had a decent job working for the city. So he had no ambitions to be a rock star or anything like that. Like he was not quitting his day job. He had no, he was like, I'm set. This is what I'm going to do for the next 30 years, collect my retirement, and I'll be happy. And then, a lot of things changed along the way. And here we are, like, that was, I joined the band this year to be 31 years ago.
Crazy.
It is crazy.
Totally crazy.
Like looking back on it, you'd be like, what the hell? Like, what, like I look back on it now, I'm like, where did 30 years go?
Yeah. For real.
It is.
So when everything happened with Typo,
right
at the end, how did you end up getting into Danzig?
Well, Danzig, I joined Danzig. I started playing with Glenn in 2003. And that had started innocently enough. I had seen like on like Blabbermouth that Joey C left Danzig to join Queens of the Stone Age. And I saw that Danzig had a tour coming up in Europe, and it was pretty soon. And Typo wasn't doing anything. I was, so basically on a break, and I was like, oh, let me see if I can, I was like, this could be something cool to do. And I was like, let me reach out, because I had some people that worked for Danzig at the time. They were, crew guys. They had worked for Typo previously. So I reached out to, one of our old guitar tech, and was, was like, hey, like, can you throw my name into the mix, for this? And at the same time, somebody had recommended me for the Danzig gig. And so like Glenn's assistant called me up like the next day and was like, hey, whatever, blah, 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 so-and-so, I work for Glenn. And I was like, did you speak to, my buddy? He was like, no. He goes, I got your name from somebody else. I was like, oh. I was like, because I was trying to reach out to Glenn. And so I, whatever. A few days later, I flew out to LA, had a formal audition.
Okay.
And the audition went well, and they had decided Glenn wanted to go with somebody that was, local, like lived in LA. And he was concerned at the time about scheduling, like as far as like, my commitments with Typo and, stuff like that. So they tried this local guy. Anyway, the local guy didn't work out. A couple of weeks later, they called me back, and I went to Europe with them. We it was just a couple of weeks in Europe, went to Europe for a couple of weeks, and then did a couple of shows, like the first like Blackest of the Black shows that he had put together.
Yeah.
We did those, and then he got Bevan Davies. He wanted a drummer that was, that would be, there would be no scheduling conflicts or anything. He'd have his own guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so Bevan was in the band for, I guess, about a year, and then when they did the Circle of Snakes record, and then after the record was recorded and they were getting ready to tour, Glenn had called me back, and was like, do you want to play? And I pretty much stayed there since. And it worked out for many years, where it was like, Typo was on a break, and then Glenn would go on the road. And then Glenn would go on break, and Typo would go on the road. So it was like there was like one or two scheduling conflicts out of all the years that I was playing in both bands together.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was really fortunate in that sense. So it was always, I was always working, and like in it. And then when Peter died, then I was able to stay with Glenn, full time, and it worked out. A lot of those years we were pretty busy,
Right.
and and then I really haven't played with him much since the pandemic. I think I've done maybe like 2 or 3 shows.
But
Like the other stuff that's come up, he hasn't really done much touring. He's only done maybe since things opened up. He's maybe done like 20 Danzig shows.
yeah,
He's doing a lot of stuff with the Misfits now, which is great.
yeah.
But it doesn't really help me in the sense.
So if anyone's out there
you
that
know,
needs a drummer,
right? Well, yeah, there's always room for another band. No, so it worked out, like with Quiet Riot stepping in and stuff, and I'm really busy, and it's great, and then with the other projects, like doing like Patriarchs in Black, and working on with Kirk and Todd from Crowbar, and with Kenny and I Am, and working with Kenny on Silvertomb. There's always stuff to do.
yeah.
And I even did a little, do a little bit of session work when I can. I'm trying to break into that as well, to do some session work, to keep the lights on in the studio.
So out of
And it's cool to do different things.
of course,
Like
yeah, you
to
gotta keep it fresh.
even at this, well, even at this age, in this age and at this stage in my career, it's still important to me to keep trying to get better. Learn something. Instead of just doing the same thing that I do, and then if you become complacent and you don't really, you don't grow from it. And I'm always trying to be better. Always trying, trying to learn and trying to be a better musician every time. Every time I get behind the kit, I do better than I did the day before.
So what's the one band, past, present, they don't have to exist anymore, but the one band that you wish that you could have played for?
That I could have played for?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a bunch. There's a bunch of bands I love that I would love to have played for. Shit. Uh, uh, you know, like shit, playing Black Sabbath. Hell.
Why not, right?
Black Sabbath, or yeah, Black Sabbath, Guns N' Roses. Why not? Since we're talking about a wish list, why? There's a lot of stuff that I'm big fans of, and to say, yeah, it would be great to play with these guys or whatever. It doesn't mean that I would be the right guy for it, but sure, it'd be great to play. I'd love to play in Aerosmith.
Right.
Aerosmith, or the Black Crowes, or Cheap Trick, or or to have had the opportunity to play with David Bowie, or
Oh yeah.
yeah, or Humble Pie, when but Steve Marriott's not, Steve Marriott's gone, and we've winds up being as the years went on, becomes one of my favorite singers of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And or shit, I mean, there's so many bands, yeah, playing Skinner, yeah, why not?
And if someone could yell "Freebird" and you could actually just play.
Yeah. When we play, we'd go out with Hookers and Blow, we play whenever our schedules allow it, and it's customary, because it always happens, there's always that drunk guy in the bar yelling "Freebird," and so if we hear it, we play it.
Okay.
We're all right, he called it,
Yep.
But if somebody doesn't scream it, then we don't play it. But most of the time, somebody's drunk in the bar going, "Freebird, dude," got to play it, But but yeah, it's just it's always cool to get I've had the opportunity to play with some really cool people, and real accomplished players and stuff, and it's great to get to be able to rub elbows with them, and to get to jam with them, or and even if it's stepping in a bar and stepping in a bar and playing Freebird, whatever.
Literally nothing wrong with that.
It's fun. It's fun in that sense. What's that?
So there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. and it's cool, like like when it always surprises me, like when I run into certain people and they'll be like, oh yeah, Typo, I know Typo, like familiar with the band, and it's like really, like they wouldn't expect it, be like, how did you hear about it? you know,
So
but
when did you
it's like
move
yeah,
to
like
Texas?
like getting the opportunity, like 7 years ago.
Seven. Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
actually, I moved here on the 4th of July.
Wow. Okay.
I declared my independence from the Northeast.
So have you found
Yeah,
any good?
I've been, like I said, like my,
Good. I was gonna
what's
say,
that? You
have you
cut,
found any
it's
good?
chopping up.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So have you found
yeah, I can hear you
any
now. Yeah.
good taco or barbecue spots?
Yes, yeah. It's like finding pizza and bagels up in New York. There's like everywhere. It's like I haven't had like really bad like barbecue or bad uh Mexican like Tex-Mex.
Right.
Like we found a couple of places. I live about an hour north of Dallas, a little
Okay.
bit less than an hour. So it's like between the Oklahoma state line and Dallas, so we're like right in the middle. It's like just a little bit above Denton. And even up here, before I moved to this part, we used to drive up here to get this place called Babe's Chicken. It's like got the best fried chicken in the area. And yeah, this is like good barbecue everywhere. Yeah, it's like getting bagels in Brooklyn. Like haven't really found too many Italian places. So it kind of like that was the trade-off move from New York to Texas. I gave up Italian food and I got great barbecue and Tex-Mex.
Right.
And like every time I go back when I go home, go back to New York, I have to get pizza and I have to have at least like one morning I have to have a bacon, egg, and cheese on a roll. And I like take pictures of it and like post it on like like my social media and stuff. I get so excited. I'm like, oh, how I missed you.
Totally understand. I
Yeah.
so I'm from LA originally, and I was living in Vegas for about
Where
20
you
years.
from?
LA.
You're from LA,
Yeah, originally. And
and you lived in Vegas, and now where do you live?
so now I'm in Pensacola, Florida.
Oh, okay. Shit. Mark Zavon, the guitar player from Kill Devil Hill, just bought a house there.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And I believe Matt, the bass player, also literally just moved there like 2 weeks ago.
In Pensacola or in
Yeah,
Florida?
yeah. No, Pensacola,
Wow.
like
Okay.
like that region over there. Like Mark's in-laws live in Alabama, so
Okay.
they wanted a place. They got a place that was like closer to
Right.
Alabama, so definitely closer than Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's funny, like half the band moved there. I'd imagine I'll be going there at some point to like work with the band.
Yeah. It's a cool little town. I'd never even been there until the day I moved, and
Yeah.
still looking for. There's a couple good Mexican places that I've had so far, but I've also had a couple that weren't so good. And when you're used to authentic
Is that like a
Mexican.
weird spot? That's like a weird spot for food,
Yeah.
right? Because it's kind of like Florida, but you're kind of like in the South
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. It's a weird mix, but decent stuff so far. But I miss my stuff on the West Coast, and I
Well,
figured
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like for you,
LA's got a lot of good food. Yeah. I still haven't found a good Chinese restaurant here. Been here 7 years. I haven't found a place that like I'm like blown away by the Chinese food.
not even in Dallas, huh? Nothing.
Well, like I'm not really in Dallas proper, like the city.
Yeah.
I'm not down there all that much. But like down like where I am, it's like Denton and like Frisco and Plano and stuff. It's all like right above the city. I haven't really come across something where I'm like, wow, this is great Chinese food.
Yeah.
And
Got to find some good
but
Chinese.
yeah, There's a funny story about Pensacola. Typo played Pensacola once. Like on, I think we played there. I want to say it was like a day off on the Motley Crue tour. Like like the Motley Crue would play a few days a week, and then during the days off, we would go and play clubs on our own. We did that with all the tours that we did where we were support act.
Right.
Like touring with Ozzy or like Pantera, Danzig, and we played that. We pulled up to this place. I just remember it. It was so small, and the PA was like stereo speakers,
Wow.
and the cones were broken. And it was there was like a pool table, I remember, and it was right by train tracks. It was some bar. I don't even want to say it was a biker bar. It was just literally some hole in the wall bar. And the train would go by, and you'd feel the whole place shake and stuff. And it was like, and 12 people showed up.
Oh man.
Yeah, that was Pensacola.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
It's
that's my Pensacola memory.
it's funny to think about stuff like that. It's like you said, like you opened for Nine Inch Nails and everyone hated you, but now that would be considered a dream tour, and probably be playing in arenas and
Right,
everything
you
else.
right, you would think, oh wow, like this is awesome. Like, go out and play, open up for Nine Inch Nails. It's like trying to open up for Slayer.
Yeah, yeah.
You just don't want to do it. It's like you could be the greatest band in the world. It doesn't matter. You're getting shit thrown at you.
Yeah, yeah.
You're getting spit on. You're getting a bunch of middle fingers. Like it doesn't matter who. Doesn't matter what band it is. You opening up for bands like Slayer and Nine Inch Nails. You're getting hit with garbage.
Understandable, I guess.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
who they are.
Yeah, well, it's like, like the fan base is just like, they're just that rabid. Like, and it happened to like, like when Typo got a little bit bigger, we would take some bands on the road and they would, like the fans were unforgiving, to the support act. And it was like, that's terrible, like it's so mean, but they didn't, it didn't matter who it was. Like, at certain points, they were like, just want to see the band.
I saw Typo one time, and it was Hatebreed, which I thought was an interesting tour.
Oh, the Jägermeister tour. Yeah, that was a fun tour. That was pure chaos.
Yeah, it was 2006. I want to say
2008.
2008. Yes, 2008.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, at
Where?
the Blues there in Vegas, and
Okay.
interesting
Yeah.
show. Interesting show. So,
Yeah.
you got the,
Yeah,
the,
that
the
was an
golf kids,
interesting.
and you got the hardcore kids.
Yeah, that was an interesting. It was an interesting tour. It was hysterically tragic.
Um,
Like the wheels were really falling off the bus. Quite a bit, but there were a lot of laughs, and like touring with Hatebreed was a lot of fun. The guys became lifelong friends. We had a lot of fun touring with them. Even some of their like some of their crew guys and stuff. I saw the tour manager like just I want to say last fall.
okay.
Came across paths and stuff, and you just catch up, and like it like 10 like 12 years didn't just go by. Whatever it was.
So you talked about some of the bad tours, but what was
But yeah, that was a fun tour.
what was like the best
Well, it was
ever
like
tour?
Peter's Health, you know the best Typo tour.
Yeah.
That's easily when we were touring with Pantera.
Wow. Okay.
That was like the peak of everything. I think Typo. We were like approaching like the height of our popularity. We were getting a lot of radio play. We were getting a lot of radio support and stuff, and like we were getting to play in front of a lot of people. And we were, like really building our fan base. And at the same time too, Pantera had at that point they reached like they Far Beyond Driven came out, I think it went to number one. So they were like at the height of their popularity too. And like the shows were pretty wild. Like everywhere we went, like Pantera stepped up to doing like small arenas and stuff like that. Playing arenas. They went from like theaters and stuff to arenas. And having us as support. Like the rooms were always filled, the shows were great, and the two bands in our crews, like everybody got along, like famously, well, and it was just, after the show every night was just utter chaos. Like my organs were failing, like by the middle of the tour.
You got
Like
a good Dimebag
yeah,
story.
you think. Yeah, you think you can hang out with those guys, and and you can't. That's whole other level of drinking and partying and running hard. And those guys, they did it every night, and it was amazing to see to see how beat up they were by the end of the night.
Oh,
And then you'd see them the next day, they come to the venue with the glasses on and all beat up and stuff. And then like an hour before their show, you heard the music going on in their dressing rooms and stuff, and they just started all over again and not miss a note. It was like it's like they're not human.
right.
But all of them, they were all, they were all lifelong friends, and we all remained, pretty close, even after, Daryl passed away, and then, after, Vinny passed away as well, still friends, with Philip. I've done a bunch of touring with Philip, with Danzig and Superjoint and stuff. And, I played with Rex for a little while too, when he was doing his solo thing.
Yep.
I was playing with Rex, and I played with Rex in Kill Devil Hill. Rex brought me into Kill Devil Hill.
Ask you a question.
So it was,
Sure.
so we managed to stay friends after that, and after the tour and stuff. And they were always a lot of fun. Vinny produced the 7th Void record that Kenny and I did together. And, so there was always these connections, between Typo and Pantera. Yeah.
Johnny, I
But
want to thank you for your time, and I
cool, man. Thank you.
appreciate everything that you've done.
Yeah.
Thank you for chatting with me, and hope to see you.
Thanks for your time, man. Appreciate it. I'm sure I'll be around somewhere.
All right, sir.
Somewhere that close by, somewhere remotely close by that I've never heard of, and see, even now, doing this for over 30 years, every day, every weekend, every day is still a new adventure.
Yeah, that's all you can
still
hope for.
I'm still waking up going, where am I?
I love it, man.
All right, man. Well, have a good one. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.